I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from last week.
I didn't see that.
I did. I moved the minutes as presented.
I did have a slight, on the second page, on a first name paragraph, it starts off with Jack Laurie. At the bottom of that, there it says Maintenance Supervisor Bauer presented board. It should be Bowen. So that's the only thing I see.
I would change my motion to I would make a motion to approve the minutes as amended, changing Bauer to Bowen.
I second that, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Does the gentleman want to come in?
Oh,
I'm not one. I'm trying to buy the courthouse. Thank you anyway, gentlemen.
you bet. Seen the last ring. Okay. Commissioner comments and committee reports. Jack?
I have nothing.
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
I had a meeting last night, NEK Health Department. Things are going pretty well on track. Pat had addressed us a little bit last week with he's been working with Kristen Watkins on updating the
resolution of your local agreement.
And her local agreement, which we reviewed, and the other commissioners are going to take it back, see if they've got any additions, corrections, or whatever on that.
Has there been any other discussion at your boards about how you're going to solve, or how we're going to solve the
Hiawatha, the home health issue? Yeah, we had quite an extensive talk about that. It was the board's consensus that we would just, at least for the time being, we would offer the same amount of availability for home health. We really don't know which way to go. It's if you all of a sudden try to make a move and you're going to take in a lot more patients, which is a drag on the budget. We don't know exactly where to go, so we just kind of, there's a consensus of the board, just hold steady and see where the marketplace will kind of pan out. It's hard to anticipate things like that, and a bunch of additional hires, where is that going to put us? And so we're just going to play it by ear, I guess, is where we're at with that. Financially, everything seems to be on course. I didn't get home till 10 o'clock last night. I had a bunch of the financials, the audit and everything from their board, and I didn't get a chance to look at them last night because it was late. So if I have anything on that, I can address it next week. I have an ambulance meeting this Friday at 3 p.m. Okay, new business before the board. Anything?
Did you get the papers drawn up for the turning the one bridge over to Walnut Township with furniture tube?
No, I don't have all the information for it. But,
I don't know if we furnished the tube yet, but I'd say we need to have that in writing versus
yeah, no,
verbal.
I definitely agree.
Okay. Tonight is the second postponement date for the Westart Energy open house that they're having in Horton. Anybody that's interested, 5 to 8 p.m. At Horton Blue Building. It's on the overhead power lines that are going from east of Muskota into Atchison and to get proposed routes. So that's an information meeting. And then I want to also address that there's a community leadership breakfast Friday, April 13th at the event center from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m.
We have a table for 6, I think you said. Or
Yeah,
something.
there was a 6-table, 6-person table that we had last year. So I have to get with Michelle to set up who wants to go to that. Are you interested in?
I'll probably go, yeah.
Okay. All right. Pat, do you have anything, or we really don't have anything on the agenda today, so.
I did send out on the listserv about policies on gifts, and it appears that there are a lot of counties that do not have policies. There's kind of a discussion about, hey, let us know what you come up with. Many of them do have policies, but they mirror really the state statute about just limits on the amounts. But those are typically geared towards somebody trying to get a political advantage through ingratiating themselves with the person making the purchasing decisions. So that's probably something that would take a fair amount of thought and discussion, I guess. I don't think it's as simple as saying just go draft a policy and adopt it, because there are some things that the vendors do that you probably would want to take advantage of.
Any promotional guests have to stay within the courthouse.
I'd say anything that can't be consumed as in treats or that kind of stuff would need to either that or at least be subject to notification or approval before, there could be stuff that comes as a prize or that if I don't have a problem with it if it's okayed and overseen, that so it's not somebody that's ordering things and it could possibly just be for private use.
I did notice as well, I think we might be worth having a discussion about whether we want to do something on purchasing, because we do spend about $30,000 a year with Quill, and one of the things I noticed just really more, wasn't what I was looking for, but I just noticed on one that the price per paper was about twice what it was on another order, and I think maybe they were on sale and one place ordered it and not on the other. And I kind of wonder if maybe we shouldn't be ordering our paper by the pallet.
Well, paper's a commodity. We should get the best price for paper.
And that is something that I definitely think the county can do better at.
And that could be centralized too, the paper.
We don't have a centralized purchasing agent or organization, because shortly after I got on, we done a tour and went through a lot of the vaults and stuff in the basement, and there was the boxes of paper here, and then you go to the next, there's another, everybody's ordering for themselves, and it looks like a volume discount would be a much better way to operate. So that's something that we've been meaning to get to.
I think with the new CIC system, we ought to have enough track record by now to know how much paper we purchased last year or the year before, and add a little bit would be fairly close, but have it a one-time order, get a better price.
Put a little bit out there.
Yes.
Well, and that something like paper isn't something that's going to change. If you have a little left over, it's no big deal. You're gonna use it sooner or later.
It's a commodity.
Yeah.
And if there's other commodities, like ink cartridges or whatever, we should probably consider those too.
I agree.
That's something that might be a pretty good thing to address when we have people in when the department heads come in with the budget talk, that we could address that.
Right. And our supplier, in this case, was 6 accounts in the county we're talking about. We got to have a set price for paper with them. It's good any time of year round. If we don't buy bulk at the beginning, we should have a set price, so it's not going up and down.
I don't know if it's a large enough purchase to bid it out, but you've ensured you get the best price if you bid it out.
A pound of paper is not that much paper. It's heavy though.
And I don't know where we would store it.
That would be the key, where we can store it. You got it in once or twice a year.
Well, I think there are several places that it's being stored now in small allotments, and because each person's storing their own, I don't know whether that could be, once it would come in, it wouldn't have to necessarily all have to be stored in one spot. The treasurer would take 10 boxes, and everybody could take it to their own vault, but it could be purchasing power and all of that could be utilized in one purchase. Maybe that if something came in on a pallet, it could be taken out to the mobile recycling center. It could be stored there temporarily until need be. So just different suggestions. Pat, do you have any councilor updates?
The tax sale is definitely filed, and there are definitely people that are being served. Based on the number of calls I had yesterday and people stopping in the office, there's definitely interest about it.
Do you have a final list, Pat, that you could share with us?
Yes, well, it's always subject to diminishment, but yes, I probably should get that on the website with the list, and I have been going through and updating as we're taking properties off. That we've had some properties redeemed already, and we had a few that were actually sold in the tax sale in 2010 or 2012 that had some old taxes on there. And I think that was a CIC problem that we identified earlier, and then they fixed it, and the fix revealed that we had a couple of those tracks. And I didn't catch those when we were figuring out which parcels to put in. I should have looked, I guess, when I saw that there were some couple of really old years. But anyway, we had some of those. But yeah, there's a list. I'm happy to share it with you. I've been emailing it to anyone who's asking, and I am taking out the tracks as they come off as well. So
I'd like a copy of them.
you want me to email to you, or
Yes.
do you want?
Yeah, that's fine.
When you said you've had people stopping in and call, is that people wanting to pay their taxes or people interested in buying some properties, or both?
Both. It's mostly been people that were served with the summons and come down and say, hey, what do I need to do to get my property out of sale? And I thought my taxes were paid. What are they owed for? Giving them that information.
I think with getting the tax sales and being more aggressive the last 2 or 3 years, it'll gradually take care of itself, because they know we're not going to just look the other way anymore.
Yeah, I hope. I don't know that I ever really reported back the exact numbers, but it was over $250,000 in the last tax sale that was generated, and so that's a positive, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully
Well, one
Hey,
time,
Well,
what
what's the
time
basic
you
test
check
result?
one of them? So you check lately since the
I
tax.
haven't. It's
It's
yeah,
been a couple of years that you checked.
yeah. Paulina gave me those numbers. I think 2 years ago, and it was
Quite a
very,
bit.
it was very high. The amount of outstanding delinquent tax. As far as parcels that haven't been paid, have you noticed, is there a big decrease? I mean, pending, or I mean, do you have any reports on how much is out there? Or
Well, there were 151 when we started, and I'm gonna guess 20 or so have come on.
okay, well, I mean, even as of that's not eligible yet, or I was just wondering if there was a better payment rate on if people are keeping their taxes more current.
That would probably really be a question for Connie. I don't know. I will also say this has been a much more collaborative effort than any of them have been in the past. The appraiser's office, Roger is doing a lot of work on the computing end of things, and the sheriff's office is doing a good job, I think, of getting people served, and there's more communication about what's going on with them, and that's a good thing. So, let's see.
Hopefully, the process will be getting easier. I mean, as we get maybe the glut of taken care of, and it's familiar, and we've got the software and and everything is helping us out. Maybe this will
I just
make
simply
us
think the fact that we're having tax sales,
regulate.
yeah, people are going to say, hey, we better pay it. We don't want our name in the paper.
It looks like 18 are off, and there were 2 that came off yesterday, and I don't know that I processed them. There's at least one more that comes off because it's still on here. So about 20 come off. My notes are on my calendar. I can't find my calendar.
Did we come up with,
I'm sorry.
did we come up with a solution that people are aware if there's a fine from the city pending?
Well, I've done a great deal of research on that issue, and I think what we have in the instructions that we gave at the sale is accurate, and the rule is the taxes that and special assessments that have been assessed for the calendar year prior to the date of judgment are discharged, but the ones that come due after the date of judgment remain a lien. And so even if our judgment in the last case was in January, and so the taxes for that whole year, or even if the person doesn't buy the property until a sale in May, the taxes are still owed from January 1 to the date of purchase, and that's the case also with special assessments. The thing I think that was a little potentially misleading was whether or not people were. I don't know that we asked the city to give us a list to announce at the sale of properties that had
Pending
special assessments
that hadn't been filed. I mean, they can be
Right.
out there but not filed correctly. Am I correct on that?
That's true, yes.
As I took it, that's kind of where the problem was. There was not only mowing and that sort of thing that happened after the tax sale, but before, but they'd actually been performed but hadn't been filed. So anything that was filed, they were charged with. I think there's a fear also of the way the new buyer of this ground, when they hear that somebody could come back within a year and take this ground, or take this property back if they have an appeal. So the new property owner didn't do the mowing and didn't, they stayed off of it. They thought they had to stay off of it for a full year. So then these more fines occurred on that. Could there be anything that we could, encourage them to? Is there a problem with them mowing? I mean, they could keep a lot of this off the books, I guess, if they kept the property.
But they bought the property, they're responsible for the property.
They don't get their deed the day of the sale.
Right.
That takes 30 days after, 45 maybe. Well, probably 30 days to get the deeds. There are also people that were in that time between when the sale occurred and when they got their deeds who said, I don't have any authority to go on the property, and they're right in a sense. Trespassing is it's only made illegal by being told to stay out. So if you're talking about being on grass to mow it, not talking about going into structures, but so I don't think I'm trespassing if I mow my neighbor's yard. And so I think they could probably do that unless they've been fenced out or told not to stay off the land. But I sort of understand psychologically why people wouldn't want to, if they're not sure, that they wouldn't want to do it. But we end up with the situation where the old owner's saying, well, they sold my property, it's not mine anymore. So they're not doing it. The new owner sometimes maybe is waiting to make certain that they have the authority to go on the property. And I don't know that we want to I'm not prepared to give legal advice to the entire world on a one-size-fits-all basis as to what they can and can't do. I think it depends tremendously upon what tract we're talking about. There's one of the tracts in here that the last deed of record was in 1910 or something like that.
Wow.
And it's, I think that was grandparents, and then parents lived there and have passed away. And I wouldn't have vacant properties now where the structures have been torn down. I'd have a lot less worry about that than about a house where we were relying solely upon service of process by publication. You played that 6 degrees of separation game, and so-and-so knows so-and-so who knows so-and-so. That's a concern of mine. If we don't get service of process on somebody, that it's likely that they could come back and they know what the connections are. Well, I played golf with this deputy's wife, and if you were really looking, the deputy would have known that, and you could have found me if you tried. If anybody in the county is having contact with somebody who has an interest in property, we have to show due diligence, and particularly if they come in and after the fact and show that if they had just done this little thing, they could have found me. So we want to make sure that we have service of process by personal service on as many people as we can.
Sure.
So some of them are deceased though. We have an elderly couple in this sale that disappeared a few years ago. I don't think we're going to get personal service on them. But we'll do our best. I don't have a whole lot to report. The other things that would probably be executive session material, but there's probably not necessary.
Well, is there a need for an executive session? Or?
I don't believe so, but the other update on right-of-way acquisition. I don't think so. It'd just be more to give you information about it than it would be to give
Necessity.
direction.
If you don't feel like it's necessary, then just move on. Does anyone have anything else?
Also, I will not be here next week. Have an oral argument in the Court of Appeals on a serious violent felony case in Kansas City. It's an Atchison County case. The Court of Appeals is hearing it in Kansas City. So the docket starts at 1 and we're last on the docket, but you have to report at the beginning of the docket, and then they take you up as they get ready, as they get finished. So I won't be here next week. In the afternoon, I'll be here in the morning.
Is there anything further? Record time. Do you have something?
Did you want to discuss these little things to have Seth authorized for the lake? Basically, he just needs you guys to authorize him to be able to sign for that stuff.
Was that agreement?
I think
You
so.
have a chance to look it over.
I don't think I've seen the actual agreement.
Okay, well, I think that was, I went in before lunch and had Michelle print a copy, and she looked at the email, and he was informing us, so then his question was to have Pat look them over. So,
I'll say, and then something about you guys having a motion maybe to let Seth sign them.
should we wait until next week after you have a chance to look at them,
And then
or could we do that pending we have authorization?
I think you could do that pending approval after I've had a chance to read them. And
I would just assume to let Pat read them first. Personally.
Okay, I think that's fine. Do you have a preference?
Just also checked over.
and then I have this as well in my folder. Oops, sorry. She gave me all of that.
I think this goes along with that. That's
That might. I'll say it was all paper put together, so I don't know.
yeah. That's a policy that that they will want us to sign off also in addition to the contracts. Some sexual harassment.
Okay, after we sign off that contract, that means we're clear of all liability, so we can get rid of our insurance out there.
Oh no.
Because we still own it.
no, I don't think we're getting rid of all liabilities. Our insurance is not like most of the public's insurance. We don't actually have insurance. We're part of a pool, a risk pool, and our premium is generally based upon our claims history, not so much on the value of the property or the number of acres that we have or things like that. So I think we're covered anyway, and I don't think there's a way to take it off and have it not be covered. And if we do, I don't think it changes our premium. We don't have much in the structures out there. We have a restroom.
That the house is going to get set, so
Yeah,
they've got that cleaned up.
Yeah, you left a slab there to put
I
up.
haven't been out there to look
I
at
haven't
it.
been by there since either.
Yeah, I haven't either.
If you have a chance to look at those, we'll maybe address that next week. And I think that next sheet there goes with it.
Do we have a general? I don't think we do have a general policy on.
Sexual harassment?
I'll compare it to what's in. Well, we do with regard to employees, but I don't know about with regard to vendors.
We talked
Probably
about
something to
that,
think about,
that being a hot topic there a couple months ago, that we were gonna go through some kind of taping or video seminar, and that kind of went by the wayside.
I talked with Melissa about that, and she said there had been a training within like 2 years ago offered. Excuse me. It wasn't very well attended, but she was going to bring that up to the committee and see if there's anything available, and I can check back with her and see if there's anything.
K-Camp has the courses also that are available online. Michelle has the information if people are interested in watching them. I know that that's a topic that's covered well in the K-Camp University.
Pat, the county lake contract was emailed on the 5th of March, and you were included in the distribution.
Okay, that's yesterday. I'm
I
sorry.
guess that was, yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Okay.
If there's nothing further, do I hear a motion to adjourn at 1:30?
So moved.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.